Hi, today we're going to be evaluating and simplifying algebraic expressions. So let's go ahead and begin with variables. Variables you've seen before in Algebra 1, those are your letters or symbols that we use in math to represent unknown quantities. Algebraic expressions are any expressions that have a variable in them. So like here, we have an x, making this an algebraic expression. Note that if something has an equal sign, it's an equation, not an expression. We're going to be using order of operations today, so your PEMDAS to simplify expressions. Remember, when you're using PEMDAS, if you see an exponent, something like 5 to the third power, or 5 cubed, that actually means you're doing 5 times 5 times 5, not 5 times 3. And when you're multiplying and dividing and adding and subtracting, it's always from left to right. In other words, you're not always going to multiply first. You might divide first, depending what comes first in the problem. Let's go ahead and look at some examples now. So our first example here, we're going to be evaluating m plus p minus 1 squared. Anytime you see the word evaluate, that means you're going to plug in a number for the variable and simplify. So here we're plugging in 3 for m, and we're plugging in negative 4 for p. So our problem becomes 3 plus negative 4 minus 1 squared, and then we can use PEMDAS to simplify. So I'm going to start with parentheses. Here we're going to simplify negative 4 minus 1. That's negative 5. Next we go to exponents. So negative 5 squared means we're doing negative 5 times negative 5, which is positive 25. So our problem becomes 25 plus 3. And now if you add those together, you get 28. On the next problem, we're evaluating a plus b squared times b minus a. So we're going to plug in 5 for a and negative 3 for b. Notice I usually put parentheses around my variable when I'm plugging in to be safe. So if we didn't put parentheses around the negative 3, we would actually just be squaring the 3 and not the negative 3 or b. Now parentheses again, b was negative 3, a was 5. Now we can use PEMDAS to simplify this. So I'm going to start with parentheses. This parentheses already simplified because it just has negative 3. This one has two numbers, so we have to simplify. Negative 3 minus 5 is negative 8. Everything else stays the same for now. Next I go to exponents, so we simplify negative 3 squared. That means we're doing negative 3 times negative 3, which is 9. Next, we're going to multiply or divide. So here, we're not going to add 5 plus 9 first. We're going to multiply 9 times negative 8. That's negative 72. Then we can add 5. That gives us negative 67 as our answer. Now, if we look at the last problem here, this one has a fraction. Anytime you have a fraction, it just means you're going to end up dividing at the very end. So let's plug into the top for y. Y is negative 4, so I'm going to plug in negative 4 cubed. Again, you can use parentheses around your variable to be safe, minus 3. Then I'm going to plug in w, which is 5, and y, which is negative 4. Notice I'm plugging in using parentheses, because if not, it would look like 35 minus 4, when it's really 3 times 5 times negative 4. Here, 3wy means you're multiplying those. On the denominator, I'm going to plug in x, so negative 3 in parentheses squared minus 2, and w was 5. So you can always use parentheses. It's the safest way to plug in your variables or your numbers for your variables. Now let's go ahead and start simplifying. I'm going to start by chunking on the numerator. So we want to make the numerator and denominator as small as possible. So here we're going to do negative 4 to the third power. That means we're doing negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 4 is 16. And 16 times negative 4 is negative 64. So I'm going to put negative 64 for negative 4 cubed. Then we have minus. And now I'm going to chunk this piece. 3 times 5 times negative 4. 3 times 5 is 15. And 15 times negative 4 is negative 60. So now I can write negative 60 in place of that piece. On the denominator, negative 3 squared is negative 3 times negative 3, which is 9. Then I'm going to put my minus, and 2 times 5 is 10. Now, if you look at the numerator, remember anytime you have a double negative like this, that actually means you're adding. So negative 64 plus 60 is negative 4. And on the denominator, 9 minus 10 is negative 1. Now that our numerator and denominator are simplified, we can divide. Remember, when you divide, two negatives become positive, and 4 divided by 1 is 4.